A lot of folks across the country and right here in Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties are hoping to receive a stimulus check here soon for $1,200 and then additional $500 for every person in the household under 16. So joining me now to tell us how to best manage this money is John Newber, who's a senior financial associate at RBC Wealth Management. And my good friend, John, how are you?
I'm doing well, Alex. Thank you very much for having me. It's a special pleasure to be able to help with this question because I know a lot of people have questions out there, and certainly people have a lot going on in their lives right now, and they hear a lot about these stimulus checks, which last I read should be arriving anytime now. I know a lot is very fluid, but we talked about a little bit before, it can be a lot of money for some, and there's a lot of question on how to best put it to work so it can last. So
Yeah. Now, so you help people manage their money all the time. I mean, usually folks that have excess money, you're helping them invest it, and helping them take as little money as possible and making it as much and making it last as long as it can. So $1,200, well, like you just said, does seem like a lot of money to some folks. Easy to burn through it, especially when there's a reason we're getting it, right? So how can we make it last?
absolutely, Alex. And I think for some, everyone's financial situation is different, but you want to focus on some basic financial principles that can be applied for anybody. Of course, the reason we're getting this stimulus is many people are coming upon difficult economic times, and you may need it to pay the rent or to pay a bill. And certainly, if that's what you need it for, that's what you should use it for. But if you do still you have your job and you're financially able to, you can start to look at things that will benefit you the most. If you have a credit card balance, for example, you may be paying 15, 20% interest on that. And if you're just doing the minimum payment, you won't pay that off for 30 years. This could be something where you pay that down. Or if you don't have emergency savings, pool of money set aside for emergencies, like you've seen with this, it can pop up at any time. Maybe it's time to build that. Studies do show that when people get free money, they tend to want to spend it on something fun, but maybe it's best to look at your bills and if you have that money saved for a rainy day.
Okay, so I love that you said maybe pay down the credit card first. Do you have some things that are high interest or some tips on what should we be spending the money on first? I know that some folks are able to prolong their rent right now. What are the things we should tackle first?
Sure. Again, I think having that safe 6 months or so of expenses saved and there when you need it is great. Knocking down that credit card debt can be great. Or if you're in a good financial place and you don't have that, you can start to save it. You can look at adding to your retirement accounts like an IRA or a Roth and put it to work, where you talked about putting a little bit of money to work and having it grow over time. Certainly for your younger viewers or even your older viewers, that's the power of compounding, putting it to work at lower prices and hoping it grows over time.
Okay, so like I said earlier, you do this for people all the time. So you say first, tackle some of those things, and then you just mentioned putting it into use for things over a long time. So you said things like retirement. What are some other things that people can kind of invest in their future with this small amount of money to maybe make it work for them?
Sure. And as I tell anyone, having that, whether it's a small amount or a big amount, it all starts somewhere, whatever you can put to work. And for many people, they may have their own rule where they put 20% of their earnings to a savings account. And maybe they can treat this like that, where they save 20% or whatever percent of it. And then the rest of it, they put to work for themselves, be it opening an investment account. Again, you can look at your IRAs or your Roths. There you get the best tax bang for the buck, but you can look at opening a regular trading account. And for people just starting out, we want to see them get a fund that is broadly diversified. You don't want to just play penny stocks, but take a look at their own financial situation, see if it makes sense to put money in investments.
Now, you just slightly mentioned the word taxes, which always gets people riled up. How is this going to affect our taxes? Is it going to? Do you know anything about that end of things?
This is money that is actually structured as a tax refund by the government. They're pre-refunding money, so this is not going to have any effect on anyone's taxes. If you go to invest the money for the future, you may run into some taxes on any gains. So that's why if you have room in those retirement accounts, if you can use this to supplement your own savings, that may be a way to get the best bang for your buck.
And so I pulled up some frequently asked questions
Mhm.
before I called into you today. Other things that people are asking: if they're a college kid, do they get this? If do people need to apply to receive this payment? Once they get the payment, are they able? Is it able to go right to cash? But if they have outstanding bills, does it have to go right to those bills? Do you know any of those answers for us?
Sure. In terms of who's eligible and what they're using, if you've filed taxes and you've paid taxes in the past, you should get a stimulus check. You don't need to apply. In terms of any specific individual, I can't speak to who or who may not be eligible, but generally speaking, it's estimated that about 80% of the US population is going to get a stimulus check of some kind. That's a good point you raise, how they're going to get it, Alex. If you've paid your taxes previously and you have direct deposit set up with the government, that's how they're going to send you the money. If not, they'll send a check, and it's still a little bit fluid as to when those are going to go out. But and then just to touch on your point about does it have to go to bills? You're getting the money and you can do whatever you want with it. If you otherwise can't pay those bills, it's probably best to pay your bills so you can stay where you're living and continue to have the services you get. But you don't have to, but that's probably the best thing to do if that otherwise wouldn't be covered.
Great. Well, John Newber from RBC Wealth Management, always nice to talk to you. Always nice to see you. Uh, are you open for consults? Can people just call you up and ask these questions?
Absolutely. If we are able to help anyone, we're certainly open to helping them, but I'd ask them to think about their financial situation if they're ready to invest. If they are, certainly give us a call. And it's always great to see you, Al. And however we can help, just let me know.
Okay, well, you and Margaret and Teddy stay healthy and keep helping people stay healthy, both physically and financially. We appreciate your time, John.
Thank you, Alex. Take care.